Hi everybody, Zero here, back again with another video. And this new Waterparks album, Greatest Hits, it sucks fucking orangutan balls. Okay, sorry, maybe I was being a little too harsh right there. Hey, what's going on everybody, Zero here, back again with another episode of Let's Talk About Trash, and today's contestant is the newest album by the Texas-based pop rock, pop punk, electronic, whatever the hell you want to call them band, Waterparks, with their new album, Greatest Hits, which is, I believe, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is the 7th album in their whole alphabetical aesthetic that they've got going on. And yeah, like I said before, this album, it's not good. Greatest Hits is their first album with 300 Entertainment and is the follow-up to, I believe, 2020's album Fandom, which was an album that I actually really enjoyed. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. Like, one of the things I really liked about Fandom was the fact that it combines, like, styles of, like, pop punk and, like, hip-hop and electronic and punk rock sometimes very well, and it doesn't feel messy at all. It feels very cohesive, and it feels like every song is, like, it feels like every new part is on the same song. On this album, however, it feels like every new style that they're trying is a completely different song, because this album's whole, like, aesthetic and, like, whole lineup is just so messy and uncohesive and just all over the place, to the point where sometimes it doesn't even feel like you're listening to the same song. It feels like you're listening to an entirely different song from an entirely different band on an entirely different album, and I do not mean that as a compliment, because, yeah, Waterparks have shown me that they can definitely combine styles very well, especially on albums like Entertainment and Double Dare. In fact, Entertainment is one of my favorite albums of the decade, I would say, but unlike this album, Entertainment actually combines styles of pop punk and pop rock very well, and electronic. Like, maybe there will be, like, electronic parts in the verse, and then pop punk parts in the chorus, and then electronic parts in the next verse, and then, like, more poppier parts in the bridge, and it works really well for the most part. Maybe there was a couple songs that I didn't really like off of Entertainment, but I would say that's probably my favorite Waterparks album. However, on this album, it's too messy. It's way too messy, it's way too uncohesive. It just feels like taking top 40 trends with, like, rapping and, like, pop rapping, and then throwing them into the album, and then not even arranging them, just, like, throwing them all over the place on different songs, and just hoping for the best. And honestly, it disappoints me that I have to say that about Waterparks, because, like I've said, they've been very known for combining styles very well, and making them work, and making them sound cohesive, but what the fuck were they doing with this album, man? Before I talk about all the other things I don't like about this album, let's talk about some of the things I did like about this album. I know this is a Let's Talk About Trash episode, but let's talk about some of the tracks I did like off this album, the ones that I did have a lot of fun listening to. Snow Globe, I believe the second single off this album, is actually a really fun banger of a track. It goes into this alternative R&B style that kind of reminds me of a Chase Atlantic song, and if you guys didn't know, Chase Atlantic is one of my favorite bands. But yeah, it goes into this, like, soft, wintry, mellow, alternative R&B style with Austin, like, kind of somewhat soft rapping over, like, this, like, snowflake, wintry sounding, like, I guess, snow globe sounding alternative R&B style song, and it sounds really well. And I guess that they know that the song sounds very wintry because the music video itself is literally, it's snowing in the music video, and it has this whole, like, cold, dark, wintry vibe to it. And yeah, I really like this song. It's fun. It has some honest and, like, thought-provoking lyrics. Austin's vocals are really mellow and, like, calming on the song. The drumming, while basic and it's like a basic drum beat, it sounds nice. I gotta give Otto credit for that. And the guitars are really, like, I guess flourished is a good word. The guitars are very flourished and soft, and they have a lot of reverb on them that really makes this song sound a lot more wintry than with just, like, the wintry vibes it has going on. And yeah, I really like this song. This is actually probably my favorite song off of this album. The other ones, however, not so much. Another track I actually relatively enjoyed is the track American Graffiti, which is probably the closest we're going to get to pop punk from Waterparks ever again, because this, besides Lowkey as Hell, which is a song I don't really like, this is the only pop punk leaning track on the album, which is probably why I found myself enjoying it more than I thought I was going to. It feels like a typical, like, OG Waterparks song, like a Double Dare Waterparks song, and that's one of the reasons I feel like this album is so disappointing, because they could have gone back to their OG style. They could have done something good. Like, they could have gone back to their OG style but did something different with it, like they did on Double Dare and Entertainment, but they didn't. This is the only I feel like this is the only great track on this album, honestly, because this track is pretty great. Well, actually, besides Snowglow, but yeah, this is one of the only great tracks on this album that calls back to what I did like about Double Dare and Entertainment, and even Fandom, because, well, Fandom wasn't entirely a pop-punk album. It did have some pop-punk leaning tracks on there, and yeah, this is the only slight shining of redemption we have on this album, and it's sad to say, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Okay, now that we talked about the songs I did like, the only songs I did like, let's talk about the ones I don't really like that much. First of all, Ice Bath is a very, very weird song. It honestly feels like... Do you remember the vocal effects that Austin had in group chat on Fandom? He's basically using those, but extending them throughout almost the whole song, to the point where you can't even understand what he's saying. And honestly, it kind of feels like he's ripping off Corpse. And I'm not a huge fan of Corpse to begin with, his music. I like him as a person, I just don't like his music that much. It feels like he's ripping off Corpse, and he's trying too hard to be, like, edgy and, like, hardcore on this song, especially with, like, the heavy bass-leaning drum beat and, like, the heavy bass guitar in the song. It just feels like the song is trying too hard to be edgy and hardcore, and then the I guess the chorus, you could call it, kind of goes into like this bright, happy-sounding poppy part, and it's just, it's one of many examples on this album where this, like, the culmination of different styles just feels way too messy and uncohesive. And yeah, there are a lot of other songs that do that, but I feel like this one stands out in particular. So, what are you gonna do? See You in the Future is another really weird song. It's kind of like this, like, heavy dubstep leaning song with, like, the distorted vocals and, like, the more electronified vocals. But just like Ice Bath, in the chorus, it kind of goes into this whole, like, R&B, happy pop sounding kind of thing, to the point where it just feels like they did the same song over again, but, like, a lot worse. And that's one of the reasons I feel like See You in the Future is probably the worst track off of this album. There are definitely contenders for that spot, but See You in the Future is just... It's like dubstep, R&B, alternative, and it just doesn't work very well. It's probably the messiest song on this album too, which is saying a lot, which isn't saying much actually, because almost every other song on this album is incredibly messy, but this song in particular just feels like, I don't even know what to say about it. It just feels like, I'm trying to think of a metaphor. Let's see here. Oh, I know one. It feels like you're taking a nice fat shit in the toilet, and then you record it and put electronic effects over it. Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, like, this album isn't as, like, unlistenable or, like, intolerable as it is just messy, cohesive, and disappointing. And it sucks that I have to put one of my favorite bands on here, because Waterparks have been one of my favorite bands for so long. And it hurts like hell having to put them on Let's Talk About Trash. In fact, it hurts in my arm knowing I have to. Actually, I just got my COVID shot, so that's why. But yeah, I'm really disappointed with this album. And if you see this album on a worst of the year list, don't be surprised, because as it's pretty obvious, I don't like this album. I'm feeling a light 3 out of 10 on the newest Waterparks album, Greatest Hits. And yeah, that's why it's on Let's Talk About Trash. Sorry. Thank you guys for watching my probably very as messy as Greatest Hits review on the newest Waterparks album, Greatest Hits. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it. And if you listen to this album, you probably are as disappointed as I am. So hopefully watching this video makes you realize you're not alone. Be on the lookout for the review of the new 21 Pilots album, Scaled and Icy, very soon. But until then, my name is Zero, and this has been Zero Review Stuff. Peace.